10 o'clock now, so as chairman, I can call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the DuPage County Ethics Commission set for this 15th day of June 2022 at 10 o'clock a.m. If I could have the roll call, please.
Sure. Member Dimling.
Present.
Benson.
Present.
Callahan.
Cahelan.
And
present.
Okay. Clement.
Here.
And Donna.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. As a matter of fact, we have everyone present. Also present via Zoom is Dan Hanlon, our ethics advisor. And then in a few moments, we'll introduce our new Inspector General. As for Chairman's remarks, we have virtually a brand new board here. We have two brand new members, one recent member here, and I'd like to have an opportunity to introduce these members. First, we have Susan Cahelan. And Susan is a Wheaton resident and an attorney. I also noticed that in your thing, you at one point in time, you were a member of the Mother of Twins Club. So I assume you have twins as well.
I have 4 children, including 2 that are twins.
Yeah.
Yes.
While my mother was twins, and a number of my nephews are twins. I've never had that opportunity to have that in the family, but
I will say that only the people who don't have twins wish they did.
Yeah. Welcome to the Ethics Commission. Our other new member is Ted Donner. I've known Ted for many, many years now. Ted also is a lawyer. He was a past president of the DuPage County Bar Association and has been very active in many legal organizations and bar organizations. Ted, again, welcome. We also have a new Inspector General, Gregory, is it Vaki? Basie. Gregory Basie. Gregory is a former state's attorney. As a matter of fact, in my reading of his resume, it was remarkably similar to our outgoing Inspector General, Nancy Wolf. He was with the Civil Division of the State's Attorney's Office for many, many years. Right. I assume in that capacity has advised the county board, members of the county board, or committees in the county board over those many years as well.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, and has been recently approved as the Inspector General. So again, welcome, Greg, on that.
Thank you.
At this point in time, Nancy could not be with us this morning, but I wanted to thank and congratulate her on her years as Inspector General. She's been Inspector General for the DuPage County Ethics Commission for 7 years. Prior to that, she was a assistant state's attorney. I think at one point in time she was even the first assistant state's attorney. Again, I've known Nancy for more years than I care to say, but almost 30 years. I recall when she retired from the state's attorney's office, and since that time, she has been the Inspector General of the Ethics Commission. She's done a wonderful job. She's been particularly communicative in explaining in relatively easy terms what she does and how she does it. I want to thank Nancy for all the years that she has provided to the Ethics Commission and to DuPage County in general. Almost her entire legal career has been spent in the service of the residents of DuPage County, and I want to thank her for that. At this point in time, I'm opening the floor up to any public comments. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, I'll move to approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the regular Ethics Commission meeting from, was that February 9th of 2022. If the members have had an opportunity to review those minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Benson makes a motion to approve.
Second.
And second. Any comments or discussion with respect to the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it on a voice vote. The next order of business is old business. Do we have any old business?
Yes, sir. We can talk about the ethics training and where
And
we're at
then
right now.
would you
Yeah.
introduce yourself for the new members?
Yeah, I'm Jason Blumenthal. As a few of you now have met me more today. I'm the policy program manager for the county, and I'm a staffer for the Ethics Commission. I know I've talked to all of you on the phone in the past couple of weeks as we've gotten you appointed, or past months as we've gotten you. So we're very excited to have you. We're very excited to have the entire team here for the Ethics Commission now. So we're going to do some good work over with this. So we're excited about that. One thing that is required, and I think we've talked about it a little bit, is the annual ethics training. And currently I do have some of our numbers for how many of the county employees have taken, as well as the outside agencies that fall under our ethics ordinance. So I'm very excited to report that we have 86.9% of county employees have taken the ethics training this year. That's pretty big. I will say this, a couple of the ones in here are out on medical leave or are part-time seasonal employees or employees that maybe don't have a computer assigned to them. That's why they haven't taken it, but we'll continue to do follow-up as we usually do. But I'm very excited by that number. I think that's a pretty solid number and higher than we usually see. So very grateful for that in that sense. So that's the internal people for the county, but the external, this is where it gets a little challenging, because the external, we don't control which employees are there. They don't always edit who's one of their employees or not. So the numbers are a little skewed, but I can say we've had 318 people from outside agencies take the exam. I don't like to give a percentage on this one because I don't think it's a true depiction. Because again, we don't know the exact amount of employees because it varies. But we have had 318, which is still a good number, because I think we were at like 270 something last year. So we're increasing. But so from the ethics training standpoint, I think we're doing very well. I will be bringing or asking the commission as we go to look at updates or anything to the training for next year. I will probably send out in the next month the packet of what we did last year. We can review it, look at the questions, see if there's anything that we would like to change. There was a couple scenarios that came up this year that I have some ideas for new questions. So I'll probably be working with Dan and Greg on that and some of those scenarios and how we'd like to come up with a few questions to present to the commission itself. But those are just some changes, but something I'll send out before, I believe, our October meeting.
And just for new members, in case you didn't see, as a result of an intergovernmental agreement that we've entered into with the city of Aurora, we also act as the Ethics Commission for the city of Aurora and conduct some of their training. The Investigator General responds to their complaints as well. So those are some of those, it says outside agencies are referred to. I think it's been almost 2 years now that we've
that sounds about right.
Had our agreement, and it's worked out very well, I think, both for the city and the county.
And this is one thing I want to clarify with the city of Aurora. They're actually not required to take our ethics training, but we do usually, the Investigator General and the Ethics Buyer has done trainings in the past for them. It's just a little bit different. They don't use our training module.
And by the way, you all have to do it as well. And I only know that because I got a little email a while ago reminding me that I had not taken it. And I did learn I can actually take it on my phone too. So it's not that difficult to take. Any other old business? We had talked about perhaps, and Dan, you might be able to jump in on this as well. We had talked about doing what I'll refer to as a mock trial. I certainly in my time here, and I think for quite a period of time there, it's not usual that we actually go to the full procedure of a trial. As you may have seen from the reports from Nancy, a significant number of the initial complaints are determined that we do not have jurisdiction over them. And as a result, it's really rare, a rare instance when we have an actual trial or hearing. I call them trials because my background, it's really an administrative hearing. It's rare when we have an administrative hearing, but we thought it might be a good idea so that in the event that we were to have one, we know what the procedure is like and we've seen what happen. So we had talked about perhaps doing a mock trial. We were going to do it either for the last meeting or for this meeting, but because of the new membership coming in, we put it off. Can you give us ideas where we are on that?
Yeah, I know Dan and I have talked about it a little bit, but I think we were all in agreement that we had some turnover, well, new members coming, as you indicated, that we were like, you know what, let's wait until we have everybody new. But I know Dan, me and you were talking about it, but now that Greg's on, the three of us will have a meeting of the minds per se and come up.
Right. There was we did a mock. I'm not sure there's ever been an actual hearing in front of the commission that is gone. But Paul Mareschi, when he was the investigator general, put together a large packet of materials in order to put a mock trial on, which we did. If I remember correctly, he had various state's attorneys come in and testify as witnesses, things of that nature, and basically put on a whole hearing. So I'm sure we'd be able to get those materials from Paul, so we're not recreating the wheel. But those materials are floating around, and we did do one of those several years ago.
I actually have those materials, and I have them scanned, so I think we just have to do a little editing, and we'll be good from there.
One's from Nancy. Right?
Yes, those
Nancy
are from
did,
Nancy.
okay.
Yeah, Nancy did it too.
So that was something that we had in the works. We sort of put it off, but I think it still might be a good idea to give the board an opportunity to see what happens in the event that we were called upon to act as the hearing procedures for that. Yeah, Mr.
Can I suggest, if the information is available and the three minds are willing, that we project out to our October meeting? Get that on.
That sounds good. I think that's a good idea.
Not a problem at all.
And if I remember correctly, it took somewhere around about an hour to get through the mock hearing, maybe a little less.
Okay.
So just expect a little longer here, or meeting.
And Dan, I will work with the state's attorney's office. Maybe they'd be also kind to have some actors for
We
us
did that
again.
last time.
Perfect.
All right, any other old business? New business?
Yeah, I have, so Nancy Wolf actually sent us her investigator general report from the start of the year up until her last day before Greg took over. So with that, I'm just gonna real quick what she's got here. There was one complaint filed, and it was directed to the investigator general between January 1 to May 23rd. It was a preliminary investigation was conducted. After completion, it was determined that there was determined that under the ethics ordinance, there was no basis to proceed with the action. The complaint was closed. The decision was tendered to the chairman of the commission and the chairman of the county board. With that, the complaint was resolved. But in addition to the reported complaint, 7 individuals submitted some correspondence to the investigator general. His message were unrelated to county ethics ordinance, and no action was taken. So, report pretty good.
Interestingly enough, this was the first actual complaint. And Greg, I didn't get a copy for you, but I think you may have had one from, I don't know if you got one from Nancy.
She did send me
All right, thank you.
several things.
Interesting enough, this was our first actual complaint where there was jurisdiction found. And Nancy did her investigation and provided a written report. I handed out a copy to each of the commission members. I think it's very interesting to follow the legal logic and basis for her determination in that. So I thought when you get an opportunity, take a look at it. It gives you a little bit of an idea what the Inspector General actually does when there is a complaint lodged and there's a finding of jurisdiction. In this case, there were a number of legal issues that Nancy had to determine. And you can see from the report itself, she reported on the legal issues themselves, and then a determination as to her ultimate recommendation with respect to that finding. But again, I don't know if each of you had an opportunity to see that before. It's interesting to see what the process is of the Inspector General as it relates to a complaint that actually passes through. Yeah, and these are for the members only. I handed this out to the members only. These are to be confidential, so keep them to yourselves, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as an aged committee member here, Commissioner.
That's only it's only in terms of length of time on the committee. I think I might have you beat on the other, but we'll see.
Say no more. I'm still 12 at heart. There are very few cases that come in front of this commission, This is probably one of the first I've seen in a while where it got to this point of having to detail it. I suppose.
And again, most of the complaints is determined that we don't have jurisdiction. It involves, we get, as a former judge, to me, I laugh, it's actually not funny, but we get a lot of complaints against judges. And we have, everybody has a complaint with a judge, brings it to the Ethics Commission, and we don't have jurisdiction over the judges. And interestingly enough, most of those cases are against judges who served in the Domestic Relations Division, as I did for 18 years. But again, we don't have jurisdiction over judges. We also don't have jurisdiction over employees of other agencies that are not related to the county. But because, if you, I guess, Google, I'm not a big Google guy, but if you Google ethics commissions, I think, we come up first, and people tend to file the complaints with us. As indicated, I think probably 95% of those to maybe 98% of those cases, it's determined we don't even have jurisdiction over the individual or the nature of the complaint. Yeah, again, Mr. Messon.
To continue on why that is, in some opinion, not only is it great to see that there's 83%, you said completed,
86, but yes.
86%. I'm a strong proponent. I don't see them in the elevators anymore, but DuPage County used to have little employee posters of promoting different parts of the county government to the employees. I'm sure there are electronic monthly newsletters that go out. I would love to see that there's a little banner ad in there that pretty much explains to any employee that there is an ethics ordinance in DuPage County. If you'd like to find out more about it, click here. They take this study, but again, reminding our employees that there are rules of the road, if you will, is why there probably aren't cases as well. So if you don't tell people and remind them, yes, they're great that they're getting a chance to review and they have to, where 86% have, but that 6 months later, it would be nice just to throw something up.
And again, that goes to what we've said before. Historically, the commission was set up as sort of an investigative agency to take complaints. It's transitioned over the years to an organization which also purpose is for teaching and advising the employees and others under the ethics ordinance with respect to the ethics ordinance. And we sort of transitioned from one of investigative nature to one of educational nature with respect to that. And that also, I think, has a lot to do with the fact that we get so few.
If I may, for a moment, Commissioner Batch, I think you're 100% right on there. Is the fact that this annual training does curb a lot of these issues, if you want to call it that. We do have a monthly newsletter, and that is something I can definitely work with our communications team. You can do a mid-year update or something along those lines with ethics. I think that's a wonderful idea. That's not a problem in the slightest. So yeah, but no, you're spot on though. It's more education makes it so we don't have problems in general, and I think we're very lucky in the sense that we've done that, and I think our training is a phenomenal training we use. And actually last year when we did the FY22 training, we actually approved the health departments using our health training now too. So that's an additional set of employees that are getting it. It's an outside agency, but they're not using our training module, but they're using all of our materials.
And then every few years we have a training session with the county board and others that the Ethics Commission takes as well. And for those lawyers on the board, we actually got an hour of CLE for us. So to the extent that we do that again.
We were doing that training every year until COVID, and that kind of derailed it a little bit. But every year I would go before that, Nancy and I would go before the county board. And we're doing it live with Aurora. I do live training with Aurora.
And Dan, hopefully, as we're hopefully winding down the COVID pandemic some, maybe next year we will be able to do that again for the board, and I think that'd be great.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, are some of the complaints that are brought forth more suitable for human resources for employees? Is that sometimes the jurisdictional issue? They have to be redirected, or?
I think the biggest issue is more of who you're reporting it against.
Okay.
So an example of this is say there was an ethics, I don't want to pick an elected official because I don't want to call out anybody, but let's do, or Dan, I was going to say, Dan, go ahead. I'll let you go for it.
I actually get, even though it's not my role, just for the newer members, first of all, welcome. My role is basically to advise anybody under the jurisdiction of the ethics ordinance as to how to comply or whether something they're about to do is in violation. I get, though, a lot of calls and emails from private citizens trying to make complaints against, again, like Judge Demling said, the judiciary or the state's attorney's office, or in fact, I've been named in a lawsuit from a defendant because I told him we didn't have jurisdiction over the state's attorney's office. So I was actually in a federal lawsuit based on that. So we get a lot of calls about, the Lisle Police Department, or the, and I'm that actually, I'm just using that as an example. I don't really get a lot of calls about Lisle, but various agencies that are outside of our jurisdiction. I get stuff about downstate government employees, Cook County government employees, people like you say, they just Google ethics and see us and look it up and decide, hey, I'm going to try and contact Nancy, make a complaint, or Dan, and make a complaint that really has nothing to do with us. And oftentimes those people continue to follow up asking additional questions that I can't answer or we can't answer. So the vast majority of them really aren't even closely related to DuPage County government employees that we have jurisdiction over.
And I forgot to add, one of Dan's roles is actually that to answer questions an employee or somebody covered under the ethics ordinance might have. If somebody were offered a job and they were concerned about whether responding to a job offer would be a violation, they could contact Dan. He can review the facts and provide his opinion as to whether or not he believes that is a violation of the ethics ordinance. It's one of the valuable resources we have for those covered under the ordinance itself.
This 22 IG thing that you passed around to us reminded me that when I was first approached about joining the commission, I was doing a little homework. I was like, what kind of work does this group do? And the one thing that I found that caught my attention that struck me as being at least timely is, I think it was 8 years ago, one of his opponents brought a complaint to the Ethics Commission against Dan Cronin, like on the eve of the election. And it was brought to just it looked like it got a whole lot of public attention right away, really quickly, that week before the election. And the DuPage Ethics Commission was in every story that I read about it. And of course, if you follow the story, it showed up as being one that got dismissed 6-7 weeks later because of a lack of jurisdiction. I'm here because I vote blue. Dan Cronin is theoretically the other team to me. So I think I'm safe to say that I don't think that kind of thing should happen. And
that's the purpose. That's the primary purpose of the Inspector General. He, in effect, and I've having been trained as a lawyer, I use a lawyer's terms, but he first determines whether there's what I would refer to as probable cause and jurisdiction. And if there's jurisdiction, and secondly, if there's sort of probable cause, then he does his investigation. And that investigation allows the other side to present facts to the Inspector General. The Inspector General reviews those facts and makes a determination as to whether or not he, in this instance, believes there's a violation. If he believes there's a violation pursuant to the ordinance, then it comes to the board to act as sort of a hearing officer. I don't like to use the word trial, but we're more an administrative agency or like a hearing officer to make a determination. And if you and I would encourage you actually all to it's been a while, but actually read our ethics ordinance, because it does set forth the procedures with respect to that. Yeah, Dan?
Just to add to that, one of the things before it gets to that point, I get a lot, especially during election season, I get a lot of calls from candidates for office that are subject to our ordinance, asking for advice as to how to proceed with respect to fundraising things or things of that nature. So the goal is to ensure that the ordinance isn't being violated, so we don't even get to the point where a complaint is something that is sustainable. So that's, you know, I'm busier when people are putting signs in the ground than when they're not. So this is one of those times where I field calls from candidates, and you know, I review the ordinance, I provide them written opinion. So if it does come out, you know, if someone goes to the press and says, "Oh, this candidate's doing this," they can say, "I'm doing it, and I actually made sure it was okay before I did it. Here's the opinion." So we try to make sure that those subject to the ordinance are complying with our ordinance, as well as the references to state law contained within the ordinance. Now, candidates that may be opposite of those candidates might not be subject to the ordinance, depending on what their role is at the time. So, you know, they might be subject to a different standard or just state law, if at all. So the goal is to avoid any complaints being filed against anyone subject to the ordinance.
Yeah, hopefully our role is to assist, not to punish.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments on new business? Else? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion. First of all, I guess we have to set our next meeting.
Keep it as set, if we can ask. October 5th at 10 a.m.
October 5th, 10 a.m., same place.
Is it possible, I hate to do this, but I know these things are kind of fluid. The first Wednesday of every month at 9 o'clock, I have admin hearings. I'm a judge in Schaumburg. Would it be possible to move it back to the 12th if it's convenient for everyone's schedule?
It's also is a religious holiday, so it might be good with that as well. So I think if everybody has the 12th available, I would suggest that the 12th, 10 o'clock be set.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna hope, I imagine this room will be open, but we'll have Ms. Johnson, we'll have Ms. Johnson look, and we'll update accordingly.
All right. And then as soon as you find out if the room is available, could you email the members? So that we can put it down in our calendars. At this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. I've got a motion from Mr. Donner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Clement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome.